We're learning more about the victims in that horrific train wreck involving U.S. military veterans in West Texas. It happened yesterday evening in Midland, some 300 miles west of Dallas. Investigators say a freight train slammed into this flatbed carrying the vets and their families to a banquet. 4 servicemen died and more than a dozen other people got hurt. One of the victims, Army Sergeant Joshua Michael, his mother-in-law says the Purple Heart winner pushed his wife out of the way, possibly saving her life. Other witnesses say they saw folks panic and jump from the parade float. Casey Stegall is live with more at the scene in Midland, Texas. And Casey, this was one of 2 floats in this parade, right?
Yeah, Trace, it was. I'll explain that in a second, but first I want to point out that right back there behind me, the train, within the last minute or so, while we were standing here waiting to go on, the train started moving, and that is the first time we have seen that since this accident. Obviously, they have to clear the railway at some point, although investigators point out they're in the infancy stages of this investigation. But yeah, there were 2 of these floats total. One had successfully made it across the intersection, had already cleared it, and then as the second one was going through, that is when this accident happened. This was all part of the 9th annual parade, the Show of Support parade. These were loaded with veterans and their spouses en route to a banquet in their honor, and that is when an eyewitness tells me, as that second float made its way across the train tracks, the lights started flashing, bells started ringing, and the gate came down.
It was at least halfway across. And then it started, as it came down, it started hitting some people, knocking people off, and people started screaming, and people started jumping, and it was chaotic. It was the worst thing I've ever seen.
The NTSB telling us that they have not yet determined if the signals were properly working at that intersection, Trace.
Yeah, they were very concerned last night, Casey, talking about those crossing gates. This clearly raises a whole series of safety concerns.
Yeah, absolutely. For context, according to the Federal Rail Association, there have been 266 fatal train versus vehicle accidents across the whole country just last year, 16 of those in the state of Texas, giving this state the 3rd highest rate in America. And then back in 2003, Union Pacific Railroad increased the train speed limit through this community from 40 miles per hour to 60 miles per hour. Trace, it is not yet clear how fast this one was going last night.
Casey Stegall live for us in West Texas today. Casey, thank you. Well, coming up